Dear students, welcome to the MOOC on India's foreign policy in a globalizing world. In this lesson, we are going to discuss about India and the post-Uruguay round developments. Main objectives of this lesson are to learn about the Uruguay round developments, to learn the reasons for the failure of the Doha round, to know India's role in the Uruguay round developments. We begin with the first part of the lesson, in which we will discuss about India and the Uruguay round of negotiations. In the various ministerial conferences that have taken place since the Uruguay round, India's focus has been on three issues. They are the implementation of the Uruguay round in agriculture and textiles or to ensure the gains promised to developing countries, ensuring greater sensitivity to the equity and developmental concerns of developing countries in the context of trade-related intellectual property rights, preventing further widening of the WTO mandate. Let us discuss about India's role in the Uruguay round of negotiations. In agriculture, India has pushed strongly for the implementation of subsidy reduction commitments made in the Uruguay round by the developed countries. The Cancun ministerial round was a crucial event within the broader framework of the Doha Development Agenda negotiations. It aimed to address issues related to trade liberalization, development and the role of WTO in global trade governance. In preparation for the Cancun ministerial in September 2003, India was instrumental in forming a new alliance of developing countries, including Brazil, South Africa, China and Egypt. They rejected the framework on agriculture that was put forward by the European Union and the United States prior to the Cancun meetings. During the Cancun ministerial round, India's foremost priorities centered on addressing the issue of agricultural subsidies prevalent in developed countries. These subsidies were perceived as having detrimental effects on Indian farmers, prompting India to advocate for equitable and just agricultural trade practices. As a key player in the coalition, India fostered unity among the group despite the divergent interest of its member countries and the divisive tactics by the developed countries to fragment the coalition. It also helped in framing an alternative proposal by the developing countries on agriculture and garnered the support of the small and poorer developing countries coalition, the G90 grouping. In the July 2004 discussions in Geneva, India played a leading role to develop a framework agreement within the G33 alliance. India pushed for the following provisions: safeguard measures, livelihood, the adoption of less than full reciprocity in tariff reductions, exemptions from subsidy reductions for resource constrained farmers in poor countries, explicit recognition in the framework on agriculture of food security, rural and social development concerns of developing countries. India was also one of the members of a new group that emerged during the July 2004 discussions. The five interested parties group, including Brazil, the US, the European Union and Australia, consisted of countries with both offensive and defensive interests in agriculture. Within the group, India was instrumental in forging a consensus on the July Framework Agreement, particularly in the context of agriculture. This kept the Doha round alive. India voiced concerns about unilateral changes introduced by certain importing countries on rules of origin and the repeated anti-dumping investigations on India's textile exports. It also questioned the selective liberalization of quotas under preferential bilateral arrangements, which further eroded any market access gains realized in this sector by India. India successfully pushed for the scheduled elimination of the multi-fiber agreement on 1st January 2005. Its textile and clothing exports are expected to grow significantly in the post-MFA regime. MFA was established in 1974 and imposed quotas on the amount of clothing and textiles that developing countries could export to developed countries. There has also been some concern in India about the non-agricultural market access negotiations. Although India has not opposed these discussions, it has expressed concerns about the formula that would be adopted for reductions in industrial tariffs from the Uruguay round levels. India has opposed proposals for larger reductions on industrial products that are subject to higher tariffs and proposals for zero duties on selected products. This opposition stems from concerns about possible adverse effects on certain emerging manufacturing sectors and labor intensive small scale industries, with implications for employment and poverty. India has also lobbied for credit to be given to developing countries for autonomous liberalization. This is in recognition of the fact that significant reductions in applied tariffs have been undertaken unilaterally by many developing countries since the Uruguay round of trade reforms. I hope you understood about India and the Uruguay round of negotiations. We will discuss about India and TRIPS and Doha development round in the next video. Thank you.